I hope you enjoyed that meditation. I'm going to mute myself and turn it back to Roger.
Okay, thank you, Judith. Wow, what a wonderful meditation. I really felt your heart merging with Ty's heart while you were talking. So, such a wonderful celebration of our limitless life. So I was, the quote at the beginning, I was looking for a quote of that, and I came across a talk or an article I wrote some years ago. I had forgotten about that. I'd even written it. But I think I might have to edit it a little bit when I read it to merge more with the meditation, but I thought I would read it, and I may not finish it because it's kind of long. But it starts, in a recent public talk, Thich Nhat Hanh quoted a poem attributed to the Buddha. All formations are impermanent. They are subject to birth and death. But remove the notions of birth and death, and this silence is called great joy. He goes on to say that this is one of the greatest poems ever written, and that it should be put to music, and that the music should be the thundering silence of all notions of birth and death. When we see through our notions of birth and death, when they become transparent to the limitless presence and life force that we are, we can begin to realize the two have always been one, the silence of great joy. When we realize the separation between birth and death is only made of thought, that birth and death are only thoughts, the thundering silence of great joy is revealed. Joy arises when we're not preoccupied with thoughts. On the other hand, when we seek joy, grappling and struggling for it, we are simply manifesting a new layer of thought. Joy is the fundamental condition of existence, life energy that is manifested by our concept of what is joyful and what is not. The mystical poet William Blake said, "He who binds him to himself a joy does the winged life destroy. Who kisses the joy as it flies lives in eternity's sunrise." So Blake here is instructing us to love the joy while it's here, even as it's always ever-changing into new forms. If we don't cling to our joy, we can be all the more intimate with it while it's here. We create a formidable barrier to a deep and intimate connection with the objects of our experience when we're caught in the fear of losing them. Liberated from this fear, we have the potential to live a truly fulfilling life, to kiss the joy as it flies. Living in eternity's sunrise suggests living fully in the now. The sun of awareness arises as a unique manifestation, while at the same time it is changing into another one. Living without getting caught in anticipation of the next now is an expression of eternity. So eternity is not an incalculably long period of time. Eternity is beyond time, without time. It's timeless. When we can be present without attachment to the past or future, we are therefore experiencing eternity. In pure awareness, there is no past or future. Have you ever noticed that whatever clock time it is always now? There is only one now. Now doesn't move along a timeline. All of our memories, our anticipations, are a present experience arising in the midst of the timeless now. This is our actual experience now. When we constantly remind ourselves that this is our ever-present experience, the present moment ceases to be a moment. Now is realized to be ever-present. It is what we are here and now, the aspect of our lives that is ever-present, which is never changing and is never changed at any moment of our life. That which we are that never changes, that's what we are beyond any doubt. As we learn to live our life fully present to here and now, without numbing ourselves and compulsively reaching out for something else, each expression of now is entirely new. We can experience it as being entirely new. The mystical, magical nature of the world becomes clear. Our continual attempts to grasp various forms of joy can be seen as an aversion to it and a distraction from our direct experience of the fundamental joy that we are. Until we know that joy minus our opinion of it is exactly what is happening, we will only have a stingy amount of it. When we truly open up and accept whatever thoughts or sensations are present by simply staying present with them, we can even find joy when the boss reproves us at work or when our kids unmercifully pester us. When we truly open up to whatever and accept whatever thoughts or sensations are present by simply staying present with them, we can even find joy when the boss reproves us at work or when our kids unmercifully pester us. I repeated that to help give us a sense of when we are really just caught in some feeling, some thought, a combination of thought and feeling in the body, that I don't like this. That itself is our suffering. It's that I thought, I don't like this. If we can learn to continually be present to that and then relate it to the limitless body, the limitless life force, that's not attached to the body, that Ty was talking about, is talking about in the meditation. Be generous and kind to the I that suffers, without grasping it or turning away from it. There's an offering that experience to that limitless life force that we are. If we can do that continually, there's a stillness, a still point at the heart of even those really, really agonizing experiences that we can stay in touch with. And we can feel the joy of being in touch with what our real aspiration is, to welcome all things, all experiences. And that heart of compassion that Judith and Ty were so deeply expressing this morning, that heart of compassion is joyful in itself. And it's open to entirely new experiences, as everything, all experiences are arising and dissolving back into and through those sacred doors of the limitless being that we are. So I thought I could end with I found a poem I wrote as kind of an offering to stillness. So, to stillness. You've never stopped flowing through us. You take the shape of all experience. When we know thoughts and feelings as they are you, taking the form of invisible labels. as the thoughts of feelings, the ripples of thoughts and feelings widen as our innocence welcomes you in. Okay, so
Thank you, Roger. Let's give a bow to Roger. Thank you so much. It all boils down to love, doesn't it?
the love of our
Yeah.
shared being, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So let us hear from others.
I have a for you too, Judith and Roger. I hesitate to ask it in a way because there's no birth and death, and I don't, what do you all think about the idea of reincarnation then?
My jury is out because I haven't died yet.
Yeah.
How can I know? I mean, you know, when Philip died, we spent 49 days doing the Tibetan Book of the Dead, and, you know, sending him off, you know. And there's a lot in that. That's in the Vajrayana tradition, the Tibetan Buddhism. And there's a lot of scary bardos that you run through, and when you according to that, when you die. But you know, one of the things that Freud said was that you should. No, it wasn't Freud. It was his student. What's his name? Quickly. Help me.
Carl Jung?
Yes, Carl Jung. Thank you. Said we need to create a myth for ourselves about what happens when we die. And my belief is that wherever my mind is that's where I'm going to go. You know, I mean, my bardos could be anything, any part of me that is experiencing that passing. That's a non-answer, isn't it? Kat, you're what's that?
I think that's helpful.
I want to hear from Roger. But Kat, your frame is like a piece of art with the windows and the skylight. It's just beautiful.
Yeah, it's wonderful. What do they say?
Okay.
An unnatural amount of natural light. What's it? Well, you know, I don't have any beliefs about it, but I have a lot of intuitions about it. And my second Zen teacher, who I deeply admire, who I think is pretty close to an enlightened human being, Reb Anderson, I asked him about it when he was staying with me many years ago, maybe 15 years ago. And he goes, well, whether there's rebirth or not, the practice, or the momentum of the practice continues. And you know, because he thinks of life as you know, he's a very committed Zen practitioner, Zen person. So he thinks of it as a practice. I would substitute just the life force, the very aliveness that we bring to each moment that we can't label, that we can't describe, and we can't see visually, you know, because it's not limited to any of our experiences. But there's no evidence that would discontinue just because the physical body, you know, deteriorates. And I know some really intelligent, committed Zen people who still think there'll be nothing when they die. And I'm like, who said there's some, is there really such a thing as nothing? I mean, so I had this conversation with Lou Nordstrom, my third Zen teacher. I call him my third Zen teacher. He told me to be a teacher, actually, but which I still resist being. But we were talking about that, and I said, well, okay, so you die, and then there's a nothing. In clock time, there's a nothing for like a trillion incalculable eons of time. All of a sudden, there's a rebirth. There would be like nothing happened. If there's no duration to a nothing, so you can't say that nothing exists. So there's no evidence that the reality that we are, you know, like Ty is saying, we're not confined to this body. We're not disembodied, but we're not limited to this body. The presence that's looking out of our eyes right now, it's not attached to the body at all. We just think it is because we're so conditioned to think that way and experience life that way. So there's no evidence at all that somehow the isness of our being right now discontinues just because, you know, so anything could happen. Anything possible could happen. So I don't think about what could happen, although I do fantasize about it because it's kind of fun, but there's no way to know that it has anything to do with what we're thinking about it. So.
I was present once when Ty was asked that question, and he said something to the effect that maybe we need to worry about ourselves more this moment rather than what's happening in the future. You know, so he brought us right back to the here and the now, which is, isn't this a joyful moment? I love seeing your faces.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, my video's not working, but when I move, it'll work.
Let's make it a when, not an if, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So who else has some interesting thoughts to share? They're all interesting, don't worry about it.
I was there when Ty had said those words also, and I really love that he brought us right back to the present. Last night we went to a concert. I haven't been to a concert in a very long time, since COVID, and we went to hear a Doc Watson celebration of his 100th birthday.
Oh.
At the Diana Worthen Theater. And I will tell you that Doc was there all over the place. It was absolutely pure joy. He always brings joy when I hear his voice. But you know, I'm just thinking about that whole moment, that whole time in the auditorium with people just in pure joy, you know, of him, and of course what we were feeling, and it's just I think being in the moment is where it's at for me. I spoke to someone yesterday, and I could hear all the negativity about her, what didn't happen, and I'm sad about that didn't happen, and it was so, at this point in my life, it was so easy to pick up that she's suffering. And her suffering was about being sorry about everything. And, you know, I said, it's not too late to do that, you know? So, I mean, yeah, I think just being in the moment, just enjoying your life. We don't know what will happen when we die. You know, just within me, all the people that I love dearly are still there every day.
Yeah.
You know? And so that's where I'm at.
Thank you, Norma.
Morning.
Morning.
That was very interesting meditation. I stayed with it wandering off anywhere. I was very focused on the whole experience, and I connected with my Native American cousin Ann Nelson, and my little brother Michael, who is mentally retarded. Which they don't use that word anymore, but that's, I grew up knowing him as having. Ann and I, from the age of 13 and 12, connected in some way. Today I would call it like soulmates, and we talked for hours on the edge of this crabapple grove on my grandfather's farm in Montana. And evidently my mom was watching for this, and she commented to me, what could two 12-year-olds talk about for hours? I don't know what it was, but we connected to, our spirits, for sure. And carry that on today. I often wear a Chiquita banana sticker on a hat or on my shirt for the day. And she had a horse, a barrel racing horse called Chiquita. And her and Chiquita were both stars in the rodeo. And about Michael, he I had a career that, because I knew him, grew up with him, had experience with a person. I had 20-some years of working with mentally retarded, mentally ill people. Amazing, simply amazing. And one time my mom asked me, who did I think I was the most like in the family? My instantaneous response was Michael. And she was like, oh, come on. Yeah, that can't be. Why? Pick somebody else or think of something else. I'm sorry. Then I got offended and it was like, just whomever popped into my brain. And I know towards the end of the meditation, it all became stars in the ocean, and while somebody was talking, my thought of whatever comes next is that we are all connected like the stars in the sky. The experience of what comes next. Today, that's what I think. Very good.
Thank you, Rod.
Here and now.
Yeah, thank you, Timothy.
So when I mentioned the ocean, I thought of you, Timothy, because I know how you have an intimate relationship with the ocean.
There's a wave out there with my name on it.
I love that.
Yeah, thank you, Timothy. I really have that same kind of connection to the ocean also. I was a swimmer. I was pretty good at swimming, actually. But when I was trying to transition from being a Zen person into a person in the world, studying psychology and therapy and all, I went through a time when I was really kind of lost. I didn't know how to reorient, how to define myself in the world. So I'd go out and I learned how to body surf really well. And I lived by the ocean and got pretty good at that. But there was so much about just the, it's impersonal, but it's very personal in a way, just in the vast openness of the spirit of the ocean, and learning how you actually kind of go with the momentum of the wave and you can ride it for a long time. And just um, yeah, and then just the realization that we all can share that intimacy of that connection. That's such strong evidence of our actual shared being, and the joy of describing that, and how Reb Anderson, my teacher, said that's what actually, that understanding of our intimate connection with all beings, that's what saves us from suffering. That becomes more obvious, more clear. So thank you.
Scuba diving is also another connection I have with the ocean. And a lawyer friend has a house in Honduras where he'd like to have somebody live. And we were talking the other day. He said, keep this in the back of your mind. You could go live down there tax free and rent free, and just, I said, man, that's a place for scuba diving. There's Royatan. He described the places that I know of. I was like, well, that's a possibility. And that's another connection I have with the ocean. Yeah. Thanks to my mom and dad.
We have a couple of minutes left.
The meditation, it was beautiful. I was thinking, I had a friend who used to say, we didn't worry about birth, what was going to happen when we were born, so why should we worry about, where we're going to go after death? And that is so true, but also thinking, the universe is so perfect, and there's so much beauty and potential in it, and everything is just right, to the infinite details. There's such infinite details, and why should we worry? I do believe in attachments and the possibility that our mind can bring us, can get us in trouble, but, like said Roger, I guess if we continue our path and we should be confident that things will be just right. Thank you.
Thank you,
Georgina.
Still a couple more minutes. I would like to suggest that we just go back into some meditative breathing before we close, before Norma takes us out. Do you have a bell, Norma? Unmute yourself. I didn't hear you, Norma. Unmute yourself.
So I have a bell, and I've been working on my computer. We'll see if it works.
Okay, good. All right, so let's reestablish ourselves in a posture of meditation right now. And just breathing, noticing our breath. If we take a deep breath, we notice that. If we take a shallow breath, we notice that. And relax your belly and shoulders. I'm so grateful for these weekly gatherings. So grateful for you. Norma.
May the merit of our practice benefit all beings and bring peace.
We're bowing together.
Thank you, Norma. That was loud and clear.
Perfect.
Yeah,
We could hear it. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, it's a beautiful day here. Is it beautiful?
In North Carolina.
Is it beautiful in Asheville?
Well, the sun just went in, but it's lovely.
Well, you guys enjoy your day.
Have a great week. Limitless life.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Your background sounds like the ocean.
Yeah, it does. Always there. All right, bye-bye.